go to court, but then I got high. I was gonna pay my child support.
But then I got high.
Na, 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 na. Okay.
Alright.
Of our interview with attorney Peter Ramizcal. We had a technical issue earlier on, and I think it's better we start from the top. So, attorney Peter Ramizcal has been an attorney for how many years?
16.
16 years, and he specialized in immigration law, and also going towards personal injury too. Offices here in Nevada and Texas, and thank you for coming in and such. We know you're very busy, so we really appreciate the time that you have with us to answer our questions.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Attorney, for all our viewers out there, can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Peter Ramizcal. I've been practicing for 16 years here in Vegas, maybe a little more. My office in El Paso, Texas has been there for about 11 years, and we purely, at this point in time, we're just doing immigration law. We may be expanding in Texas with personal injury, yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, sure. Where are your office located at? Oh, both here and I guess in Texas as well.
We're at 3796 East Desert Inn Road, Suite B, Las Vegas, Nevada. You'll get the information, I'm sure, at the end of the podcast.
Yes.
And in Texas, we're at 920 Stanton Street, and we're literally right in front of the linea, as they call it, the border, and I can wave at CBP at any time. Yes.
Yeah. So, guys, anybody from Texas over there? Attorney has an office over there. So if you have any questions, put it in over here, or we'll provide it at the end of this video. Right. The addresses and the phone numbers. Mm-hmm. Attorney. Personal stuff, what did you do prior to law?
Well, I used to be a retirement plan specialist with TD Waterhouse, Series 7963. Started off just being a trader, people calling in, doing stocks and trades, and went into the retirement plan specialist area. The big goal back then was to get into personal injury, was to get into acquisitions and mergers, and the only way I could do that is to get a law degree. So I actually went to law school to get into mergers and acquisitions. In my last semester of law school, during one of my electives, I just, for the heck of it, decided to take immigration law, and I ended up falling in love with it. It's like the fighting the good fight is what we call it. When you're dealing with law, and think about it, criminal law, there's such a conflict between moral and ethics. You can know if someone is guilty, and yet you got to defend them, and you could put a guilty person out on the street. And then you have innocent people that you can't save them, and then they end up going to jail. And so, with immigration law, it's pretty black and white. You're just trying to help people, achieve that dream of bettering themselves and helping their families. And that's really what it's all about. And I think that's why I fell in love with immigration.
Yeah. It's very cool. Wow, yeah. I was going to ask a question, but you already answered it. But could you describe a particularly memorable incident or case wherein you were able to achieve a positive outcome for your client?
Okay. Well, I had an individual from Jamaica who decided to come to court one day under the influence of marijuana. When I confronted him, hey, what are you doing? You can't come to court, under the influence.
So he's still smoking while in...
He wasn't smoking, but he reeked of weed, and you can hear it.
Yeah, okay.
And he got mad at me. He's like, look, I'm Jamaican. This is my culture, man. And I'm like, okay, well, and he went on to say how it's legal in the state of Nevada. And I had to remind him that federal law supersedes state law. And that under federal law, and we're in federal immigration court, he could be removed, deported based off of this. And I said, you cannot appear in court like this ever again, or I'm not going to represent you. Long story short, he finally got the clue, and we ended up winning his case down the road. But it's rather funny that an individual would, come to court like this and trying to argue state law too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was gonna go to court, but then I got high. I was gonna pay my child support.
But then I got high.
Na, 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 na. Okay.
Alright.
That's pretty much it.
Alright, attorney. What are some common misconceptions about immigration law that you would like to dispel?
Look, if you're going to get advice on immigration law, get it from an attorney. Look, most of your attorneys in the state of Nevada are free consults. Don't get me wrong, there are some that charge $50, $60, and that's okay. But what you're getting is real legal advice that you can use. And most people get their advice from friends or Googling it or going to a notary. And it's outrageous. And let me tell you about these notaries. It ends up being the people that are from your culture, whether you're El Salvadorian or Filipino, it's your own people that end up messing you up, taking advantage of you, okay? And so all I'm saying is get legal advice. It's free. Our consults are free 100%. Why wouldn't you come to a licensed attorney, okay, that's been practicing and knows the law versus an immigrant, a notary. I get it, money is usually the issue. It doesn't mean you need to sign a consult, or retainer with an attorney. At least you got free legal advice, and then it's up to you. And most attorneys will work with you. We also do pro bono. If a case is, it's justifiable where an individual is, they just have no income and they need help, doesn't mean an attorney's not going to help you. We do donate time, and we call it pro bono. My bar actually requires that I donate at least 70 hours a year. Okay, so,
Cool.
right, so.
Yeah, you mentioned when we were last chatting where someone comes in with on a fiancé visa, right? Or they were applying for a fiancé visa. Then they're gonna start asking questions that especially if it's coming from the Philippines, it's like a red flag for the federal agents. And what do you guys do to prepare this couple? And they're a real legitimate couple who might fail the interviews.
Okay. Well, fiancé visa is a unique visa because it's an immigrant and a non-immigrant visa at the same time. It's the only beast of its nature like that. So when you apply for a fiancé visa, once you get into the United States, you have a certain period of time in which to get married.
Right.
Okay. And if you don't get married within 90 days, then you are going to have to file an I-130. Okay, and that's a filing fee of $535. But the fiancé visa takes the place of that I-130 if you file within your 90 days. Okay, so why are you there to waste money? Just go ahead and follow through.
Right.
Okay. In regards to fiancé visas, what we do is we prep our individuals, whether it be an AOS, an adjustment of status, or a fiancé visa. It doesn't matter because the couple has to go in as a couple to USCIS, which is locally over here on Badera Street. An attorney will sit in the back. Now, what's really important is that you're prepped for this interview because immigration now can do what is called a Stokes interview. And a Stokes interview is where they'll split you up, okay? and they'll remove the petitioner, which is the U.S. citizen, and they'll leave the beneficiary there, and they're going to ask them about 50 questions. These 50 questions have nothing to do with the application process itself, okay? What side of the bed do you sleep on, okay? What did you have for dinner last night? Okay, describe the bedroom to me. What color is the bedspread, okay? What kind of toothpaste do you use? When was the last time you had sex? Now, each item that they're asking you carries a certain amount of weight. If I say Colgate and you say Crest off of their toothpaste, it really isn't that big of a deal. But if you keep missing a lot of easy ones, then it becomes a deal. But the question, when was the last time you had sex? If a person says last night and another says last week, now we have an issue. That's an automatic red flag.
Okay, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That was the other way.
So Stokes interviews are, you've got to be prepped. So what we do is, anybody can fill out paperwork. We don't just do paperwork. We actually role play. We do a Stokes interview. I split my couples up, and we role play, and we go over at least 50 questions. Then we bring in the spouse, and we don't make them leave the room. We just tell them to be quiet, and then we role play, and we do the 50 questions. I mean, I've done this enough that, they'll switch it up every now and then, but we know the questions that they're going to ask for the most part, and we try to help people get through this because, honestly, us guys, we don't remember. We don't remember anniversary dates. We don't remember all sorts of. Women are like this. They're a point, but so we got to get our people up to speed.
So I mentioned the USCIS office in Badura Street. I got my citizenship in 2020, and after I did the oath, I wanted to go to McDonald's, get some burger, So it was great. So I was a green card holder then since 2012. So it was about 8 years. And then I got my citizenship. I know I could do it in 5 years. I just forgot. But are there cases wherein some green card holders had issues with their citizenship just because they had immigration ages where they had to get deported because they forgot that they had to become a citizen or something like that?
Well, look, you can be a green card holder indefinitely, bottom line. Some individuals just choose not to become a U.S. citizen, and that's just based off of their home country. Maybe they have, they own businesses, real estate, things like this. And not every country allows dual citizenship, and that includes the United States. The United States is not going to allow dual citizenship, but the Philippines does. So the Philippines, even though you're a U.S. citizen, you can also be a citizen of the Philippines by applying. Okay. It's not that the U.S. says you can't be a citizen of any other country. It's just that we just don't have any formal application process for you to also spread the love, as you would say. You are a U.S. citizen, and your oath of allegiance is to the United States once you take that.
Yeah, so I remember another question when I got my citizenship. You're asking, are you going to, what's the term, let go of your citizenship elsewhere, something like that?
Right.
I said, of course, if you're going to be a U.S. citizen, you have to say yes.
Right.
But then if I want to own land in the Philippines where I have to be a citizen, then I just gotta apply there.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, if somehow are there, let's say if you're a green card holder versus you're a citizen and you got stopped on the street or you committed a crime, right? Is there a risk for deportation?
Of course.
But so, not if you're a citizen.
Not if you're a citizen. And that's why you need to become a U.S. citizen. People think immigration lawyers that we defend illegals in immigration court. No, we're defending legal permanent residents. Okay, we're LPRs is the acronym for that, and it's because they never became a citizen. Okay, I had a guy who threw an orange at his wife. Okay, and ended up getting a battery charge and went into deport proceedings.
Wow.
And the thing is, you need to protect yourself. You can't, you really have no rights as a legal permanent resident. So
Wow.
becoming a citizen definitely is something you should look into.
Yeah, it's there. I know a lot of LPRs who they work double, triple jobs. It never comes to their mind to get their citizenship. They've been here for 12 years now, 15 years now.
Yeah. So, hey, guys, what do you think is the number one race for fraudulent marriages?
Fraudulent marriages.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't the Nigerian princesses always looking for their wives?
So, yeah, you would think so with
There you
the,
go.
with the email, right? So unfortunately, Filipinos are number one for fraudulent marriages. Okay?
Yeah.
So as soon as a Filipino couple come in, and that doesn't mean two Filipinos, a Filipino and a Caucasian, whatever, there is a presumption that the marriage is fraudulent. And sometimes they can go straight into a Stokes interview.
Right.
That's when they split them up, just because of the ethnicity. It's crazy, okay? It's because, well, it's unfortunate, but things are easily done in the Philippines, and people think they can bring it over here to the United States.
Yeah. I mean, you can get there's a Recto Avenue over there, Recto Market.
Really?
You get your diplomas there from LaSalle, Ateneo, University of the Philippines. You get your marriage certificate, your birth certificate over there. Just send in the details. Kind of like Chat GPT, you know, just can you make me this birth certificate? Yeah, and they're really good at
Copy.
doing this fake document. So I understand. I mean, even that's pretty crazy.
All right, attorney. How has the immigration policy and law evolved over the years, and how has it impacted your practice?
Oh, gosh. Well, you know, immigration has been pretty straightforward, and I think the biggest change happened during the Trump administration. All of a sudden, things that were available no longer became available. DACA, for example, for the children that were born here not born here, but brought here due to no fault of their own. They're 3 months old.
Right.
They're under DACA status. He's trying to get rid of DACA. You just name it. Anti-immigration completely. And some of these rules still exist. They're still being fought in some circuits. And it's crazy because we're in the Ninth Circuit, which is the most liberal circuit. So if you're trying to do something, you're best to be in the Ninth Circuit if you can move over here.
So the state of Nevada is
State of Nevada is in the Ninth Circuit,
What other
California,
states?
Oregon, the whole West Coast,
Okay.
along with the Hawaiian Islands.
Gotcha.
Okay, and we all know how diversified the Hawaiian Islands
Yeah.
versus Texas or Arizona. Okay, very adversarial immigration states.
Gotcha. Yeah.
We even had a sheriff down there, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, in Arizona that would follow immigration attorneys. He'd have his squad cars follow. You know, I mean, just horrible stuff. And he was just, and he ended up, he put illegal immigrants into a camp and had them wear pink pajamas. He just did a bunch of crazy things, and lawsuits were brought against him, and in the long run, President Trump ended up pardoning him. Okay, so yeah, this was it's all about Texas, baby.
I was just in Hawaii for a week last week.
Oh yeah, look at the tan.
Yeah, so we were there, and I have a friend who he's been working for a ranch for a long time, like 17 years.
Yeah.
Ranch, and one employer gets paid cash. He overstayed his visa for like maybe 10 years now.
Mhm.
Before that, he was back and forth, and then for the last 10 years, he overstayed there, and he couldn't go back because there's no nothing. He said there's nothing for him to go back to, but he does definitely do want to visit because he could like attend, family, blah 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 blah. So on a case like that, is there any chance for someone like him to become a citizen?
Well, first of all, you don't become a citizen immediately unless you're born and with U.S. citizen parents, blah blah blah. But with it, you become a legal permanent resident, and the question is, could he become an LPR? Is there a way to do so? And unfortunately, there is and there isn't. Okay, there's only one way. Because he has a legal entry into the United States, we have a loophole in our system that says if you enter illegally and you marry a U.S. citizen, you can do your status.
You say if you come in if you enter legally,
which he did, and if he marries a U.S. citizen, that citizen can petition him and his overstay is forgiven. Okay, that's our loophole. All right, it's wonderful. Think about it. But a company cannot petition him. There's just no other way, and for the most part, because you have to be in legal status in order for a company to petition you. So, sure, he's working on the ranch and everything for 10 years, and obviously they want to employ him and they would love to petition him, but they can't because he's an overstay. Okay, but so. The only way he could do it is to marry. Now, if he was, let's take it a little deeper. Let's say he was caught and he's put in immigration proceedings. So his relief, more likely than not, would be cancellation of removal for a non-legal permanent resident. Okay, because he has no legal status.
Right.
Cancellation of removal. In order to qualify for that, you would need to be here for at least 10 years. Okay. And you must have a qualifying relative. That means if he has a kid or a spouse or a parent with legal status, that would be a QR or a qualifying relative.
Does it have to be like first level relative?
It has to be first level. Okay?
Gotcha.
But at least they allow children, spouse, or parents. Okay? Maybe he has a kid. Maybe mom and dad might be here. We just don't know.
Right.
We're just, this is hypothetical. And lastly, you can't have any felonies. You have to be a person of good moral turpitude, okay?
Right.
And under those conditions, he would qualify for a relief called cancellation of removal. I like to call cancellation of removal a get out of jail card free, okay? Because honestly, if you look it up on Google, less than 10% of those cases are won. So when you do a waiver in the United States for an overstay, you just need to prove extreme hardship on your qualifying relative. But when you're in court proceedings, you have to prove unusual, exceptional, extreme hardship on your qualifying relative. The standard is so much higher. An example of that is, look, if I don't get to stay here, my spouse is going to die. Let me give you an example. Your spouse has a disease or an illness that can only be cured in the United States or treated in the U.S. If they get deported to El Salvador, there's no medical there. My spouse will die and they will follow me. Now that would be unusually, exceptionally extreme, okay? So waivers are another thing, and we can talk about that later. But getting back to your question, if he has a qualifying relative, he's been here for more than 10 years, and, and he has no felonies, then there is a relief under that. And think about this, that would buy you, our court system is so backed up because of COVID, it would buy him maybe in Hawaii, I think they're at about 6 years right now, the immigration court, with a work permit, legally working. And he would be here for at least 5 years, working. And you never know. Maybe you could find another way of relief while it's pending.
Okay.
Okay.
Another question would be, okay, so Clark County has hired a lot of teachers from the Philippines. We have a few of those friends with us. Mostly they are special education teachers. And their contract was like 2 years, but they came in with their husband. The contract was 2 years, extended all the way to 5 years, and well, they have a daughter now, and she, of course, she's a citizen, but they're supposed to go back to the Philippines now because their contract has expired.
Sure.
So based on what you told me earlier, the school or the company have had to petition them there while they're here illegally.
While they have legal status, absolutely.
What kind of petition is that? What's the
Well,
form?
it depends on their original visa, or if they could switch over to another visa. How old is the daughter? Honestly, they could actually overstay. Think about this. Because they both have legal entries into the United States.
Sheena and Abraham, listen here, okay?
Yeah, but it's all about the time frame. So you have two individuals that entered illegally. Let me, well, I'll give you an example in a second.
Okay.
Once the daughter turns 21, because she's a U.S. citizen, she can petition her parents, and the overstay is completely forgiven. That is a loophole in our immigration system.
Okay.
So I had a lady from the Philippines. She came on a tourist visa. She stayed 22 years. It's definitely an overstay,
Yeah.
right? And she married a U.S. citizen, and her overstay was forgiven, and she got a green card.
Okay.
Okay, it's one of the only loopholes in immigration system that there is. Okay,
Okay. Well, her daughter's turning 1 next.
and that's your issue, right?
Yeah, it is.
But you got to remember, there's over 20 million immigrants here that are working unlawfully, you know, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people believe that it is these immigrants that are keeping Social Security afloat. Okay, and the reason is they pay into a system that they can't collect from. Think about it. Okay, times 20 million by all these jobs. I mean, it's in the billions. Okay,
Right.
and they can't collect into the system, and it's just something to consider.
Yeah. Now, another question to that is, and I'm asking these kinds of questions because they happen.
Sure.
It's not that, you know. But let's say the situation is they did overstay, and their daughter, after 20 years, she comes 21, and her parents are still here overstaying. Is that still a petition or no?
She has to make the petition.
So she can still petition.
Absolutely.
Okay, and
As
then-
soon as she hits 21, she petitions her
Petitions
parents.
her parents, and then and if that's granted, then the parents' overstay are approved.
Exactly. The overstay is forgiven, 100%. Just like my lady who overstayed 22 years.
Wow.
You
Okay.
know, and there's ways. Let's be honest. There's individuals that are working under the table everywhere. It is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So for
Oh, real quick, I want to talk about that a little bit. So, all these individuals that are working under the table and paying into a system, most of them are still getting paid with a check. That means taxes are being taken out. Okay. When they do find a way to adjust their status in the future, because if given enough time, anybody can adjust status. Okay, there's ways of doing it, given enough time, whether you remarry or what, okay? Or you have a child that's a U.S. citizen. Long story short is that when they do adjust status, they can take their income that they paid into an ITIN number or a fake social and put it into their real social. They don't lose any of that money, okay? But they have to show that they've been filing their taxes, okay?
even if it's under a fake.
Even if it's under a fake. And our law says that if you're here illegally, you better be paying your taxes,
Yeah.
okay? Otherwise, if you find a way to adjust in the future, we're not going to let you adjust.
Yeah, because
okay?
you've not been paying taxes.
So IRS knows everyone with the ITIN number
Yeah.
is illegal.
Yeah.
But they don't care because they're paying into a system that they can't collect from.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't do anything about it.
It kind of reminds me of squatters' rights. So if a squatter has been there for 10 years and has proved that he's been paying property taxes for the past 10 years, he has a right on that property.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Well, a lot of these properties are like, dilapidated too, and the owner probably passed away or hasn't been, or has too many properties they haven't been looking at this, or they haven't, and then they haven't been paying taxes on it. So that's that for squatters. But okay. So in the state of Nevada, our governor is was the sheriff, now Governor Lombardo.
Mm.
Has has he? What was his stance in immigration when he was a sheriff and now as a governor?
Well, Lombardo was pretty anti-immigration. We have a law called Violence Against Women's Act, and if you're a victim of a crime, whether you be a woman or a man, it doesn't matter. Men can qualify for this. If you got if you helped the law enforcement in prosecuting the individual that committed a crime, and you're a victim, it was a pathway to getting legal status in the United States. But in order to do that, you need a form called a 918 Supplement B, and it has to be signed by the investigating officer. And at that point, Lombardo was telling his staff when he was a sheriff that I don't want anybody signing any of these 918s.
Wow.
It was really difficult at the time. Now, I just recently heard on NPR yesterday when they were interviewing Lombardo that he's all pro about DACA recipients being able to join his police force. So as a governor, he may be switching seats, which is kind of nice. He's talking about a bill that is going forward and allowing individuals that are here under DACA to become police officers.
Oh, that's very cool.
So, you know, where he stands.
So let's go back to that. So if someone who is, let's say, overstayed here and then tips off the cops because of a crime that's about to happen or to arrest a wanted individual, there's a form that the arresting officer signs.
No, what it is you have to be a victim of a crime.
Oh, they have to be the victim.
Right, and you're helping the police in
Gotcha.
prosecuting this individual.
Okay.
And the person who committed the crime is a U.S. citizen or has legal status.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Gotcha. So you have. No, I'm just kidding. I got number 5.
All right. So with all this, how do you stay current on changes and updates to immigration law, and
Oh my goodness.
how do you ensure that your clients are informed about their options and their rights?
Well, constant. We have organizations like AILA, which is the American Immigration Lawyers Association. As attorneys, we have to do CLEs. I try to make all my CLEs towards immigration orientated. Honestly, attorneys can take CLEs in anything they want.
You
and,
focus on the immigration part.
One thing really good about immigration is it's so political and it's so much in the forefront that if there's any new laws or changes, you know about it on TV.
It's on media.
Yeah, it's on media.
It's a hot topic.
When a criminal law changes, you may not even hear about it unless you belong to a criminal forum or some kind of a CLE group that gives you up to date. But not immigration. They're pretty straightforward, and that's how we stay abreast on this.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Well, last question. Or go ahead.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
One of
Yeah,
our
yeah.
viewers. If you
One of
don't
your,
mind.
yeah.
Okay.
So I have this one that says, so there was a couple that was from Canada, and then they got interviewed in the U.S. Embassy. During the interview, the wife was pregnant. Okay, parents were instructed that in case the mom is to give birth after they receive their visa, they will just bring the birth certificate of the baby with them when they enter the United States, and that's what they did. They came in with the baby. Mom gave birth after receiving their visa. The whole family, dad, mom, and baby, were able to get into the U.S. without problem. But after a few days of arrival only mom and dad received their social security card. Parents went to the social security office to inquire, and they were told that they don't have any information about the baby. But baby was born in Canada. Do they need to apply for a visa for the baby? Are they going to do the whole process like how their parents entered to the United States?
Well, there's so many facts jumping around here. I really would need to write this down, and I would encourage this individual to give us a call at our office. We'll give them our phone number. But for the most part, if U.S. citizens have a child outside of the United States, the U.S. Embassy in Canada could issue a U.S. birth certificate.
Yeah, well, what happened was they were from Canada, and then she gave birth in Canada, but she gave birth after they got the green card. and then they came into the United States. I think the baby was only 1 month old at that time. She was given a passport as well, but then now they came over here. She has no social whatsoever. The Social Security doesn't have any information about the baby.
Well, remember this, Social Security is a completely independent entity for the most part. Individuals, for example, that become green card holders or such, they actually have to take their immigration papers to Social Security, make an appointment with Social Security, and they'll assign them a Social Security number, okay, based off of whatever legal status or work permit that they may have. So in this case, just keep in mind, immigration is by itself. All these other departments and organizations, they don't know what's happening. Let me give you an example. IRS has no idea, well, besides the TIN numbers, but they have no idea of who's here illegally or such, per se. Immigration only knows what you tell them. Keep that in mind. Okay? And what is run off of your fingerprints
Okay, so the IRS and immigration
are not
they-
intertwined
Okay,
at all.
gotcha.
Okay? So an individual, for example, who's doing an adjustment or whatever, immigration only knows what you tell them and what your fingerprints show. That's it. Okay? This is a really complicated case with lots of variables,
Yeah.
and
Everybody
please,
call the office.
yeah, have them call, and like I said, the consult is free.
Yeah.
Okay? And we'll try to guide them through this. But usually the U.S. consulate in the foreign country can petition or submit a documentation for that. And but the child was born in Canada,
Yeah.
and you're telling me that the parents are both legal permanent residences? They're
Okay.
both LPRs?
Yes.
Well, the child would be a derivative of their of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
and
a minor.
and it's not that it's not automatic. You have to make an application
Right.
for it.
Okay.
Okay. They,
Gotcha. There's also a question in which my nephew wants to come to America soon. My brother, which is his father is an American citizen. I was wondering how much it's going to cost for you to do all the paperwork as well. That's also an obvious question, right?
well, here's the thing. Most attorneys do not quote prices online.
Yeah.
You know, over the phone or whatever. And there's a lot of variables. But anytime you're doing consulate processing, most attorneys in Nevada are charging anywhere between, for consulate processing, from $1,500 to $2,500.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
that's usually the going rate if that's all he's looking.
Yeah. One other question that seems to keep popping up. So let's say someone overstayed. Can, like a neighbor who's suspecting that this guy overstayed, say, hey, call the authorities and say, hey, I think this guy is not legal resident here. Can you take him? Something like that. Can they do that?
They can call, they can write, they can do what they want. But immigration, they're so short-staffed that they do not come after anybody unless there is a judge's order against them.
And
There
that's
has
the
to be.
ICE, right? The,
Right,
Yeah.
and that would be ICE,
That
which
would be
stands
ICE.
for Immigration Customs Enforcement.
right.
ICE is just so short-handed. Do you know how many calls they get a day saying that their neighbor is illegal? They really don't care. The only time that they'll arrest somebody that is here unlawfully without a deport order is usually when they're after someone else and that person is collateral. There's another person, while they were looking for the person who had a deport order, and they find someone at that time, well, they're going to arrest them. Okay? And that's the only time. It's just
Yeah. And to get a deport order, they have to
appear in front of a judge, and a judge will order a deport order. Okay?
That happens because they committed a crime somewhere.
Not necessarily. Remember, and I want people to understand that immigration law is civil law. It's not criminal law. These are not criminals.
That's right.
Okay? So all these individuals coming in illegally, that is not a crime. It's not a crime until it's their third time. Okay? And the state of Texas is actually putting people through federal courts, criminal courts, and actually barring them for 20 years and such. And imagine you're in a federal state prison. What are you in here for? Oh, I tried to come in illegally.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
Go back out there and work.
right. We have a broken immigration system. That's the bottom line.
Okay. Yeah.
And let's talk about these individuals that are coming by the tens of thousands at our borders in Mexico. Do you know we have a law that, and they're all applying for asylum, okay? We have a law that says you can't apply at the U.S. consulate in your country, okay? And that's a mistake. Our law says you have to apply at the linea, at the closest border into the U.S. So a person from Honduras or El Salvador has to go 5,000 miles to the border to make their asylum claim. Why don't we just have the U.S. consulate go ahead and feed these people through?
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, 90% of these people don't qualify for asylum. Asylum is based on race, political views and religious views.
But it prevents them having to pay a fixer,
Right.
get them over here and possibly get robbed or die.
Exactly. So if you are told in Guatemala by a U.S. consulate, if you had an interview, sorry, you don't qualify for asylum, are you going to go sell your house and everything and then still try to come into and walk 5,000 miles and still try to come in the U.S.?
Sure.
No, probably not. That would probably get rid of maybe 70-80% of the people that are down there because they have knowledge ahead of
This
time.
documentary where they borrowed money from a lot of their relatives. When they were there, 2 of them got kidnapped. The kidnappers called the family, hey, I want this money.
Right.
And then,
It's horrible.
yeah,
The plight is just mind blowing. It really is.
Got a question from Chrissy.
Mhm.
She says, I'm a citizen and want to petition my sister who's been denied a tourist visa 3 times. Is it possible that they grant my petition? How long is the process?
Okay, so tourist visas are really tricky. We don't even do it. Okay, they could deny you because you have a blue shirt on. It's horrible. And the reason why most law firms, at least credible law firms, should not be doing this is because you get individuals that if it is denied, hey, why did I pay you to do this when I could have been denied on my own? Okay, and that's their mindset.
Right.
But we will help people how to navigate to get your tourist visa approved, okay? So basically what they're looking for, and it's really hard in the Philippines to get a tourist visa.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the trick. Basically, you have to understand when you make an application for a tourist visa, it's done online, DS, packet, all this stuff. But there's nothing to upload information showing that you will return back to the Philippines, okay?
Yeah.
So it's extremely important at the time of your interview that you bring this documentation. And they don't tell you this. You just fill out an application and you're denied, okay? So what I mean by information or evidence would be, look, I got a letter from my job stating that my job is waiting for me when I come back,
Yeah.
okay? I'm only going to be gone for 2 weeks, all right? And my job is there. Here's a letter from my employer. I take care of my grandmother. She's sick and such, and here's a letter from my grandmother. I have kids. You think I'm going to leave my children behind? I own property. I have a bank account. I have a business. Anything that shows that the individual will
You're
return.
motivated to come back.
Right, and one of the biggest things you can show is a round trip airplane ticket,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Yeah.
So the trick is you get an airplane ticket that is refundable, okay? Because more likely than not, you're not going to return in 2 weeks. But the thing is, they don't give 2-week visas for tourists, okay? It's a 10-year visa, okay? And it's good for up to 6 months in visiting at any one time. Rule of thumb, if you visit 6 months, you better be out of the country for 6 months. If you visit 1 week, you need to be out 1 week. Whatever you stay, you need to leave.
Okay.
that's the length of time, okay?
Yeah.
But going to that interview, you got to bring documentation that proves that you will be leaving the United States as soon. And remember, you're coming here as a tourist.
Right.
So your mindset to that interviewer should be, hey, look, my good friend is I'm getting married, and I've never been to Vegas, and he's having a bachelor party. I only need it for 1 week. I even have round trip tickets here to return on it, in 1 week's time.
Yeah.
And you show this stuff.
Yeah.
And you have a better chance of getting this approved.
No, I remember when me and my parents came in 2004 for a tourist visa, and we had to show because my four other siblings are in the Philippines.
Okay.
We have a round trip, and my dad has an appointment with the neurologist, so it's a pretty strong case to be here.
Well, there
Okay,
you go.
I think there's a follow-up question.
So can she still petition the sister who's been denied the tourist visa?
Absolutely. You can, the rule of thumb is you can apply as many times as you want, but you better have new evidence, otherwise you're going to get denied again.
Okay, so she's petitioning as an immigrant, right? She's
No,
petitioning.
she's
Correct.
a
She's a
non-immigrant.
citizen.
She's bringing her in as a tourist
Yeah.
visa. Oh, here's
No,
another
she's-
clue.
She wants to petition the sister
To come in as
to
a
come in
tourist.
as
No,
as a tourist,
to
not
come
as a
in
tourist, to come in
as
as
a
a
tourist.
tourist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but she's been denied the tourist visa.
Does that affect that?
It does not affect,
Okay.
okay? A tourist visa is a non-immigrant. Obviously, an immigrant visa is completely different.
Okay.
They cannot deny, okay? But here's the problem. If your sister is over 21, it's a 25+ year wait.
Yeah.
That's horrible. I mean,
Yeah.
humanity, most children that are over 21 that are being petitioned by their parents that are in the US, the parents end up deceasing, okay? Because they're already in their 60s or whatever when they petition their kid, and now it's a 28-year wait, whatever it is, and then they end up dying. So immigration said, hey, this is really harsh. A person waited 20-something years,
Right.
and now we're going to deny it. We're going to allow you to do a humanitarian brief, and we're going to allow individuals to, your close family members to step in the shoes of that individual.
Oh, the deceased individual.
Yes,
Okay.
so you don't lose it.
Okay.
One more question from Magwin Lay. Hi, Sir Clark. Does Attorney Ramizcal process petitioning alien workers for employment agencies?
Okay. Yeah, we do. We do all aspects, but you have to understand the rules have changed a lot. A lot of these third-party individuals, there's laws that say, hey, you can't be a third party and petition a person to work, and that you're going to allocate them to other entities. Okay, so it all depends on the visa that you're applying for. Okay, and it's. We could spend hours talking about this, so this would be something else that we could
Okay,
talk about
yeah,
on
that's a
another
big
show or
discussion.
whatever. And it has to be specific though,
Right,
okay? There's, what?
And then we have one of the businesses here, say Workforce Solutions. They do they get nurses who are NCLEX passers in the Philippines, and they get him here, and then they under a J1 visa, and then
Okay.
they allocate them to
Eh,
this other.
Let's talk about J1 really quick,
Yeah.
which I find fascinating. The J1 is made so that the country that is allowing the J1 does not get a brain drain. Think of that, okay? So, for example, or Cuba, let's use Cuba.
Oh, okay.
Cuba has a doctor who's been petitioned by a family member, and they won't allow it because they don't want to lose that doctor.
That doctor.
But they'll give a J1 maybe. Now, if you come in a J1, you're not able to adjust your status, period. Okay? Unless it says underneath your J1 visa that you're able to adjust status. So even if that doctor came to the United States and
Under a
married a
J1.
US citizen
Okay.
under a J1, he couldn't do it. He has to return to Cuba.
He has to return.
Exactly, and get permission from the Cuban government, okay? Unless you can get it from the Cuban embassy. This is just a
Wow.
hypothetical. So J1s are to prevent brain drain from a country. So it's really interesting that nurses are coming under J1s, okay? Or even because it's usually given to individuals that are the country's trying to protect from leaving.
From leaving.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the teacher's case that I mentioned before. They came the same thing.
Right,
So-
right.
So they have to come back, and they will go back.
But they're not necessarily, their J1s can say not subject to the, you know, to the
Oh,
restrictions of a
I'll have to go
J1.
and check.
Yeah, you'll see, look underneath the visa and it'll say not subject to the restrictions of a J1.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but I had hotel workers with a J1. I'm like, how can you get a J1? You're not a doctor. You're you're not a advanced degree profession. It's mind blowing.
Wow.
But yeah, they found a way to circumvent the system. So yeah.
Oh, and another question. So let's say a U.S. veteran, pension, retired, goes to the Philippines to retire. Does he have to come back to the U.S. however it comes?
Only LPRs have to come back. Legal permanent residents can only stay outside of the United States for 6
For
months.
6 months.
Not 6 months and 1 day, 6 months.
Okay.
If it's 6 months and 1 day, there's a presumption that you're giving up your green card.
But if
If you're a citizen, you can live indefinitely without ever coming back. And you get your Social Security benefits.
Okay, yeah, because someone on the airport told him that, hey, remember who's paying you, right?
Oh my goodness, that's so horrible. It really is. And, you know, in closing or whatever, I just want people to understand that immigrants are not stealing American jobs, okay? It's not easy to petition a foreign national as a company, okay? For the most part, you literally have to disqualify all U.S. citizens or people with legal status before you can hire a foreign national. And you literally have to run an ad in the newspaper, and there's a lot of things, and you're not really interviewing that individual straight out. It goes through Job Connect, and then you have to let Job Connect know why you disqualified that U.S. citizen or that legal permanent resident before you can hire a foreign national.
Wow.
It's just not that easy.
Yeah, that is not easy.
Right, and then the other ones like agricultural workers, that's a whole different ballgame.
Okay.
This is just generally speaking. You know, jobs are not being stolen. Is all I'm trying to get to.
Okay, well, wow. Thank you so much for all the information. Definitely, we'll get your information out there, post it to your offices and your office information. And if someone here listening wants to, is considering a career in immigration law, what would be your advice to them?
Okay, well, you know how teachers are underpaid?
Okay, that's that.
Don't get me wrong, you're fighting the good fight, and spiritually, it's extremely rewarding. These people become family. But we are the most underpaid attorneys that there are, unless you get into only business immigration, you know, H-1Bs and L-1As and investment visas. But if you're doing family-based petitions, which most immigration lawyers are, you know, it's coming from the heart. So don't think you're going to get rich just because you're an attorney and you're an immigration attorney, okay?
You have to have that passion to.
You have to have that passion to help people, and honestly, you will help people, and the blessings that come are tenfold, okay? That's all I can say. And I really believe that there is a higher source, without getting too spiritual or such, because I'll go into court and literally maybe 3 minutes before I go into court to argue a case, I'll go through a Kurtzman book or something, and I'll open it, and there'll be a law that I can use. And I've been studying all night trying to find law to help my client, but right before walking in, it's there, it's given to me.
Wow.
You know, and I'm like, I get goosebumps just thinking. And I go in and I end up winning a case based off of this law. You know, our law books are so thick, so big. I mean, you can't find everything you can search, but you know, it's just that but it's so rewarding on other aspects. That's all I can say.
Wow. Well, yeah, we could definitely see that in you, the way you talk and the way you explain to you know, lay people about all this stuff, and the way you answer, you know, people. You definitely explain it really well, and we thank you so much for answering all our questions. And
Okay.
we hope this helps, you know, at least one or two people out there. But the information of Attorney Ramizcal will be on the video. The whole thing is recorded too, so you can watch it again. And then all their phone numbers, phone numbers of their offices and website will be over there too. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. It was a
Alright.
pleasure. Thank you.
All right. See you guys later.
All right. Take care.